but honestly, I do think it is possible to get rich quick.
So it says here you make $8,000 a month in passive income from your real estate investments, and you're 26 years old.
My channel went from making thousands per month, and all of a sudden I had like 6 or 7 viral videos, and now I was making 8,000 for a few months. Funny story, I actually did meet Graham Stephan one time. It almost feels like a cheat code.
What the hell is...
My channel went from making thousands per month to almost zero. It was very low.
If you buy, let's say, an $80,000 property,
Are you buying it cash? Are you taking out a loan?
what benefits are there in real estate when it comes to taxes?
For anybody listening that wants to learn more about real estate, I would be willing to share my knowledge with you.
Welcome to the second episode of Money on My Mind. In this episode, I talked to 26-year-old Jeff. He started making money online from a very young age, posting music compilations on YouTube. He scaled that to $10,000 a month, but after facing some challenges with that, he decided to try his hand at real estate investing. He started with just a single property, but now at age 26, rents out 6 units, has a $1 million portfolio, and makes $8,000 a month passively from his tenants. And while growing that real estate portfolio, he's decided to come back to YouTube and see if he can automate some channels with code. Specifically, he runs 10 different channels in the music niche, putting together music compilation videos. He's finally got the code locked in and has pretty much just started fully automating this. But in the future, this has potential to overtake Jeff's main source of income from his real estate. In this episode, you could expect something a little different. Normally, I talk to people who are just making money online, but Jeff actually is a real physical business in real estate. Of course, he's making money online as well, and we touch on all of these topics in the episode. I think you guys are going to like this one. So without further ado, enjoy the show. So it says here you make $8,000 a month in passive income from your real estate investments, and you're 26 years old. How is that possible?
Yeah, so there's a long story, of course, but in short, I earned some money on YouTube when I was in high school. So I graduated in 2017, and I was earning money towards the second half of my high school career. I took that money and I invested it into my first single-family home, which I rented out, and then from there I bought a couple more investments. And today I own 5 multifamily units and 1 single family.
Damn. Okay, so walk me through that. First of all, before you even started with real estate, you started making money with YouTube. Where did that come from? How did that start? And then how did you realize, like, I'm going to use this money from YouTube for real estate?
Yeah, so I grew up on my computer. I feel like I was always playing video games. I loved Minecraft. I remember.
Me too.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. When I was young, I would create Minecraft servers, and I remember it was a pretty common thing to have roles within the Minecraft server. So I would, as the owner, I would sell roles to people, and I would give them like better items, like a bunch of diamonds or something if they were to pay me. So I had some of the kids, I remember they had like GameStop gift cards that they would pay me. And in return, I would give them items in the game and roles in the game.
So that was your first experience with like making money. What type of servers were they? Like survival servers or PvP servers?
Yeah, it's honestly hard to remember, but they were PvP style servers for sure. It was like,
okay, cool.
Yeah, I forget honestly exactly what they were. It was so long ago.
Okay, and then how did you transition from that into making money with YouTube?
Yeah, so I experimented with probably some different ways to make money online. I was always interested in the idea of content creation. And when I was, midway through high school, or maybe even a little earlier, I remember getting into a style of music that was like started getting popular online, and that was like dubstep and electronic music in general. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you're in like the 24 to 28 range, I bet you have very similar experiences to me.
Yeah, like all the Monster Cat songs and all of that sort of stuff.
I think it was early Monster Cat days. I was listening to some of those. I really liked Skrillex. And I remember riding on my my parents' lawnmower, listening to Skrillex, and I'm like, dang, I really wish there was more music like this. I really like it. So I went online. I went on YouTube because that's what I knew at the time. Like, this was before Spotify was like a big thing, right? So I went on YouTube and searched for the music, and I really couldn't find it. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna throw my own video together, some songs that I like. And it really, I didn't know where it would go. It was just an experiment, right? So if I remember correctly, the first video that I uploaded, it started gaining traction within the first few weeks. I remember it got like a couple thousand views, something like that. And I said, oh, wow, this is, a couple thousand views when you're first starting out is amazing. It's like such a good feeling that you actually have something, you created something that people, want to watch. So I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I eventually uploaded a video called Top 10 Best Dubstep Songs. It might still be up today. You could probably search it if you're listening to this podcast right now. And it ended up getting hundreds of thousands of views within a few months. And as it was growing, I just decided to keep it going and uploading more and more. Keep in mind that this was copyright music, so I wasn't making any money off of it, at first. I just wanted the views and just to see where the journey would take me. And I used keyword research to create videos and find like the best titles. I remember best remixes. That was a very popular keyword at the time. So I would post remixes. And these are just compilations of music put together in one video. It's very simple. It's like I was like an online DJ essentially.
Right.
So after that, during that phase, I kind of grew my channel up to maybe like 10,000 subs. I said, okay, how can I make money off of it? So my first thought was I need to upload original content or content that doesn't have copyright. So I think I went on to one of the channels like No Copyright Sounds. I'm sure you're familiar with
huge
that.
channel.
Yeah, great channel. And I got some videos from there and some other sources, and I put together a mix with no copyright music. I posted it. It didn't do very well because it was music that people didn't really want to hear, according to my fan base, but it did get some views and it did make some money. So that was like my first taste of making online money.
And how many subs did your channel have at that point?
I can't remember exactly, but it had to have been in the, over 10,000 at this point.
That's awesome. And do you still have it? Do you know how many it has now?
My channel total. Yeah. So it peaked at around a little over 300,000 subs, and it's been inactive for a while, due to copyright. Unfortunately.
So you don't post to it right now, but it's because of the copyright?
Yes. Yeah. I don't post to it now because of the copyright. It got around me graduating high school. I was heading off to college, and around that time, copyright became a lot more strict, and I received a couple of strikes on my channel, and it went from making thousands and thousands per month. I think I made 10,000 at one point.
Wow.
In 1 month.
I did not realize that. How did it go? So you would just post. So once you made the first video back in the day when YouTube didn't really care that much about copyright strikes, you would just post a bunch of videos compiling music. How many views did they get? And then how much money did it make you? And what did it look like over time?
Yeah. I mean, what you just did with your finger there, that's look, right?
Did this.
Like
Okay.
I made like I started out making like $500 a month for the first few months. And then all of a sudden I hit a video that, went viral. Maybe it reached like 1 million in, within a month or a couple months, something like that. And I went from making 500 to a couple thousand. And then all of a sudden I had like 6 or 7 viral videos, and now I was making 8,000 for a few months.
Wow. Okay. And so this came from you optimizing for search. Is search the main source of traffic that this came from?
Yeah, back in the day, this search was the main thing, right? There was no complex algorithm like there is today. Like there was no shorts. This was all long form content. So I would do keywords. So I really liked the top 10 series because I feel like people were always searching for like top 10 songs.
Yeah.
So I would do a lot of those, and then I would do best remixes of popular songs. That was one of the best keyword phrases out there.
How did you do your keyword research? Like, how did you find what people were looking up? And how did you also make sure no one else was posting that sort of stuff so you could actually rank above them?
I kind of got information from wherever I could. I think there was like a website called keywordtool.io that I would use pretty often.
Okay.
But I didn't pay for any services. It was mostly just doing the research. Like I would search it myself on YouTube and see if there are any videos under that.
What's getting viewed?
But actually, to be honest with you, what I remember the most success that I had was coming up with original ideas myself. Like I wasn't copying any other videos. I liked the music myself, so it was great to be able to post that, and I found that maybe I started some trends in the space at the time.
Okay, so and by original, do you mean like literally a new concept, or do you mean you took kind of a format that was working and then changed the format to improve on it a little bit? Like instead of doing a top 10 normal, you did like a top 10 remixes, and that is what took off.
Yeah, basically, the last thing that you just said.
Okay, so you would find a format that's working, add to it, and then that's how you would be able to separate yourself from the competition.
Yeah, we'll call it experimentation. Like I tried lots of different titles and different keywords. Remixes, people loved remixes back in the day.
And so once you found remixes work, did you just start spamming those?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like who was popular back in the day? Like, I mean, there were a lot of Justin Bieber songs that I remember. Like DJs would make house remixes of Justin Bieber songs, and I was all about that. So I posted a video containing
Other people's house remixes of Justin Bieber.
yes, and I would I give them credit, and
Mhm.
so I received so a lot of support from DJs. Like I think a lot of DJs would come to my channel, and play my mixes at their or they would come to my channel to get ideas for their sets.
Did you ever ask permission to use their songs, or did you just say, okay, since I'm compiling it, it's like my own curation, so that should be fine, and YouTube still didn't care?
Yeah, no. So from the beginning, I wasn't trying to make money off it in the beginning. I just put some songs together and posted it on YouTube because why not? I was just trying something. And I kind of stuck with that. If I ever had anybody ask me to remove any content, of course I would because I don't own the content. But to be honest with you,
And
I never
did
really
people
got
ask?
any issues.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
solid, yeah.
I would just it's experimentation, like I'm not scamming anybody. I'm just reposting content online and I'm putting my own spin on it because technically I was DJing a lot of it, is like a live DJ set in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
Some of the videos though were just simple playlists of just one song after another.
Yeah. No, I think even because I've been on the other side of that too, right? As a creator. And like, honestly, I don't really care that much. If someone posts a video of me and I'm, a small part of an entire compilation, like, what am I going to do? Try to get it like taken down? Or do I just accept the fact that I made up, 10 seconds of a 20-minute video and now I'm getting more eyeballs on me for that? So yeah, I feel like it makes sense. I mean, in our automation channels, we use a lot of clips from other people. We rarely ask for permission, and we have the thing like you do, which is like DM for content removal. We rarely get it, and in the off cases that we do, like we just remove it, and there's no issue pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems to be a solid strategy. And also with keyword research, it's interesting how you did that back in the day because now I feel like there's like I don't know if you've used vidIQ recently, but the tools that are at our disposal now for doing keyword research are like way better than before. So we get like now if you look something up, you can see exactly how much search volume per month it has. You can see the outlier scores of the competition, right? So you can how good is this video or this topic that you're searching up doing compared to people's channels average, right? So if everyone's getting a high outlier score, you can be like, okay, this topic or this format that I'm looking up is fucking working for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This face
Engage the competition that way. I wonder if you'd have a lot more success. I wonder if you had access to that tool back before everyone else did, if you would be able to like just easily beat everyone.
yeah,
Like, no question.
I mean, I only had a couple of channels at that time. Like knowing the information that I know now, if I was to go back into, I mean, everybody says this, right? Like we all learn from
Yeah.
our mistakes. But if I was to go back in time and restart, knowing everything I know now, I would have my channel Music Life, and I would have probably 50 other channels posting different genres of music, because the tools that I have now, and like all the information that I have, I know I'd be able to create something even bigger, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
And we're going to get into that soon.
it's
Go ahead.
very impressive how advanced the tools are, though, to agree with you on that.
Yeah, no,
You-
it's insane.
I haven't.
And yeah, I want to get into that soon. So we'll get into that soon. I want to go over now so like chronologically where you're at, because it seems like you started this then you went to the real estate thing, and then maybe returned a little bit back to the make money online stuff.
Mhm.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, cool. So you grinded this YouTube music thing. You got it to 10K a month in a single month. And then how did the progression from that? How much money did you make before you were like, okay, I have enough saved up that like I want to try putting this money into somewhere else? And you decided real estate. How did you even like, how did that even come into you deciding this is a good investment? And how much money did you have to start?
Yeah, so towards the end of the YouTube career, that was as I was going into college. It wasn't great timing because I was so focused on like the next stage of my life, going to college and getting an education there. Um,
So this YouTube channel was before college.
yes, it ended pretty much as I went into college.
Okay, so you were doing all this at like 16, 17, 18,
Yes. Yep.
and then you made 10K in a month, then you're going to college and deciding what you should do with the money you made from that channel.
Yes. My channel went from
Okay.
making thousands per month to almost zero. It was very low. I remember it was terrible. I got a couple of strikes on my channel. It was around the time there were some news headlines actually. I think it was Taylor Swift or Katy Perry was like the voice for the artists, and she was saying we want, labels should be paying us more money. So that actually had a trickle down effect, and eventually they got super strict on YouTube with any music that was out there.
I see. And is that what caused you to stop, or did you just happen to be stopping while that hit?
Well, yeah, that's what caused me to stop, honestly.
I see.
My
So
head,
it no longer really became as viable as it was in the past. And then you were like, all right, well, now what do I do?
yeah, I mean, I do have some regrets in that sense, to be honest with you now. Like, I wish I didn't fully phase out of it. I just thought,
Mhm.
like, I was making a lot of money online as a 16-year-old. I was putting in maybe a couple hours per day on my channel. Like, I had a whole life outside of my channel as well, and I was still making this
Yeah.
money. Like, it taught me it's easier to make money in this world than you think, and that hurt me in the long run, right? It's hurt me in the long.
Yeah.
It makes me realize, like, now after so many years of like having to grind to make money, and I'm still like at this point after all this real estate experience that I have, I'm still not making as much as my YouTube channel was, or I'm making close to it. But
Mhm.
it's just crazy that you can spend 2 hours a day working on something, not putting maximum effort into it. It still yields super high results,
Yeah.
but then you spend 7 years of your life trying to grow something else, and it still, it still doesn't compare. It's just
Yeah,
an
and
interesting thing.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and probably a lot of people watching that are looking at this at an average job, putting in, 40 hours a week, going, "What the hell? This dude at
Yeah,
16 was making more than me, working like 2 or 3 hours a day. Like what?"
this
But yeah, so
things are not what they seem. There are ways to
yeah,
make money. I don't want to. I don't think you can promise anybody to get rich quick necessarily, but there's no guarantee of that. But honestly, I do think it is possible to get rich. I truly believe.
yeah. Yeah, so maybe get rich quick is not always a lie. Maybe in the way that course sellers, market it, it is. But you've experienced what should feel illegal compared to what people understand making money is like in society.
Yeah, you should put the title in the thumbnail. How to get rich.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Real estate guru explains how to get
Yeah.
rich quick. So let's get into that then. So yeah. So you're 18. You finish high school. Your channel's dying. How much do you have saved up? And when did you even like? What made you even consider real estate? And how did you get into it?
Yes. So I went to a semester of college, and I decided college wasn't really for me because I wasn't enjoying myself. I felt like everything that I was learning, I already kind of learned through experience myself. So I decided that I didn't want to continue with it. So I had to come up with a plan if I was going to drop out of college, I had to come up with a plan to, as a direction for my life, like as a career, right? So
Mhm.
uh, my family has experience in real estate. I grew up when I was about maybe 10 years old. This is just a rough guess. When I was about 10 years old, my father purchased his first piece of real estate as an investment, and so I kind of grew up getting to see my father invest in real estate. So I was kind of around it
Yeah.
for a while. So that was just my
That's so valuable. Yeah.
yeah, it was very valuable to have that. So I kind of had that knowledge in my mind. So it's kind of a natural uh, direction to take my career path after YouTube. I thought about doing YouTube some more, and I actually did. I tried getting back into it, but it wasn't easy. I spent hours trying to figure out a way to get back into it, and I was like, you know what, this isn't worth my time. I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna get into real estate. I'll try drop shipping.
Mhm.
Stuff like that.
I tried drop shipping.
Yeah. Uh,
I still got to try real estate though. That's my next
yeah.
side hustle.
Yeah. No, I'm here to help you with that if you have any questions.
Yeah. So okay. So walk me through it. So how much money did you have saved going into deciding your first property, and what did you perceive as like the benefits of real estate investing as opposed to the other things you were considering?
Yeah. So for that first question, after my channel, I had about, I think it was around almost $100,000. That's
Mhm.
about how much I earned in the lifetime of my channel.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I only
I
made
gotta
money
say that's
within a
awesome.
short period of time. So this was like a lot of money really quick for a young person.
Yeah.
And I invested that. It was around that college time. It was like as YouTube was phasing out. I invested it into a single family home in my hometown in upstate New York.
So what made you choose that even? Like what before you even decided you're like, okay, I have $100,000. You must have had some rationality for why real estate in the first place and then why that unit in particular. What was it?
Well, um, I wanted to invest my money somewhere. I wanted my money to work for me. So because of my prior knowledge of real estate from my family and the access that I had to some of my family members doing real estate, I decided that's what I wanted to try next. So I remember doing some research on just single family homes in the area. So I found a log cabin in my hometown, and it was actually near the college, and it was like, I think it was listed for like $80,000 or something like that, which is really cheap. I don't know if you can find a home for $80,000 today.
Yeah.
A suitable home for $80,000 today.
Yeah. It won't be suitable. Yeah, no.
And I figured I wouldn't be able to get a loan from like a mortgage loan from the bank at this time because I didn't really have a stable income. I had cash, sure, but the bank doesn't care about that. They just want to see stable income. So I bought it outright. This first one, I went in
Wow.
50-50 with my father though, to limit the risk. We both did
Okay.
40K, and we bought it outright. We, fixed up the inside a little bit. There wasn't much that needed to be done. And within
Manually yourself, you went in and,
y-
manpowered and fixed it up.
a little bit, but we hired out some of it as well. So you
Okay.
can
Okay.
you can go on Facebook and find maintenance people. There's a lot of different places that you can find maintenance people and
Right.
contractors.
And that's probably helpful for people to know that if they want to do this side hustle, they don't need to necessarily be able to lift sofas.
No, depending on the area you're investing, I think it's very realistic to go and hire somebody. It depends on your margin,
Mhm.
your profit margins, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we purchased that and rented it out to college students, and it was making me monthly passive income. I mean, all you have to do is post a listing on Facebook Marketplace and say, hey, I have a 2-bedroom single family home near the college available for rent for, we'll call it $1,000 a month at this time. I don't remember what it was, but we rented it out, and now for a whole year, the tenants are in there. They're not making much noise. They're not calling us for very many things, and it's just money coming in.
I see. And so I have a couple questions here. So first of all, do you remember what the number was that they paid you? Was it $1,000 a month?
I've had so many different leases at this point that I don't remember.
Okay. So I think that's an interesting question though, which is like, if you buy, let's say, an $80,000 property, how much really are you going to be making per month? And how long until you actually make back the investment where the rest of it is just actually like passive profit after that? Do you know in general, like how long that usually takes? It seems like if it's around $80,000 and you make it, 12K a year, like 5 to 10 years, you start to recoup the investment.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it does depend on. It's different for every investment, every property that you go into. It's different for every investment that you make. How much are you buying it cash? Are you taking out a loan? Because if you're taking out a
Mhm.
loan, there are going to be additional fees associated with that and upfront costs.
Right.
When you buy
and interest, right? So you have to out earn the interest rate of the loan.
Yeah. So it does depend, but my strategy, and this is a strategy that I've learned from my father, and we've developed over time, and it's changed a little bit over time. The strategy we had at the time was, let's look at the property and estimate our costs. So you can look up on the county website, look up how much in taxes that the property owners are paying. You can estimate the maintenance. You can maybe estimate $500 in maintenance per month. That's even high. So we probably did a couple hundred per month, and then you can estimate utilities. So you take all of your estimated costs, and then you take the estimated income based off the market rent at the time. Let's say it was $1,000. If your expenses are $600 and you're making $1,000 in month of in rent and in revenue, then that's $400 a month in profit. It sounds simple when I explain it like that. There's more to it, but in the end, that's kind of what it came down to.
Got it.
That $400 a month profit eventually paid off those initial closing costs, which are usually about $1,000 to $3,000, I'd say.
I see. And then from there, it's just gravy, and you own the asset worth that appreciates over time, right? So when you bought it, it was worth $80,000. I'm sure now you still have this.
This one I actually did sell.
Okay. And what were you able to sell it for, if I can ask?
I think we sold it for $135,000.
Okay. And over holding it for what, like 5 years or so?
Yeah. So I think I bought it towards the end of my YouTube, which was like maybe super late high school, around that area. Yeah, we owned it for maybe 6 years, 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Okay, got it. So in 6 years, you were able to buy something, make 70% on that thing, sell it, and then that whole time while that asset was appreciating, also get income from the tenants that lived in it.
In simple terms, yes. There was some more that went into it.
There's more expenses,
we did some renovations, but in simple terms, yes. I ended up
okay.
putting more money.
Did that add to what you were able to sell it for? The fact that you put in the money and did some renovations?
Yeah.
Okay.
We put in maybe $10,000 to $20,000 and still, made much more than that, right?
Yeah, I see. So then my question is, so in terms of the idea of actually making this passive, how passive really is this compared to like investing in the stock market? And then also, did you have any worries about your tenant like not paying on time or messing something up? And then like if that happened, you would be responsible, right? And you'd have to find someone new. Would that be a whole scramble?
Yeah. So the first question that you had was, how passive is it, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot to get into, I'll just say. Like, it's going to consume your time, especially if you're just starting out and you want to make sure things are well taken care of. You're going to have to be there on site yourself to make sure things are dealt with the right way. Especially if you had no experience, you have to be there in person learning on how to deal with this stuff. So it's like, it's passive, yeah, but a couple times a week, you're going to want to go over to the property and make sure, everything is in order. Just in the beginning for the first few months. Every time that there's a new tenant, you're going to have to make sure that the old tenants move out on time, and you're going to have to coordinate getting new tenants in there. So, that's a little time consuming. There's a lot of coordination involved with meeting new people and getting them to sign a lease with you.
Yeah.
But overall, it's in the long run, I would say it becomes more passive over time. I think that's a good way.
Right. So let's get into that. So now you said 5 properties?
I have 5 multifamily units and 1 single family unit. With one of them.
Okay. And all the multifamily units have multiple tenants in each of them.
So I have 2 multifamily properties and 1 single family property. And within those 3 properties, it's a total of 6 units.
I see. Okay. Got it. So how did you go from that? How did you go from 1 to 3, or one unit, I guess, to 6 units? And how has it became more passive over time? Because I assume, it seems like if you just did the amount of time you were spending on that one and multiplied it by 6, it would be too much time. It seems like there's some time costs that you're saving on when you do a lot of these at once.
Yeah. I think I'll answer your question here. It can be very time consuming. After the first one, you want to buy a second one, and you have some experience under your belt. And in my case, this second one that I bought, it was kind of a fixer upper. The units were livable, but they were in very poor condition, and it's not up to the standard that I would want my tenants to live in. So I bought the place, I think, for a good price. I think it was a little undervalued at the time. It was a duplex for $96,000, I think it was, which you cannot find that today. The market is inflated so much. You can't get a duplex.
And did you mortgage this one, or did you buy it in full?
This one was mortgage. So I used.
Okay.
This is actually a good important point for people who are looking to get into investing. The first one, if you can find a super cheap place like a trailer or a single family home, just something that's very inexpensive that you can rent out, buy it outright. They'll lower your risk, right? You have to save up a bunch of money, which sucks, but buy it outright and rent it out for a while. And that'll allow you to show the bank that you're able to make a consistent profit each month from real estate investing. So when I applied for a mortgage for my second property, I said, hey, listen, I've had this property. I owned it with my father. I've had this property for it was probably a couple years at the time, something like that. And it's been making us profit each month. We know how to manage it. I know how to do it. And they said, okay, yeah, based off of your projected numbers for this new property and your estimates, we will give you the loan. It was like 80% loan to value, which means I had to come up with 20% of that purchase price
as a down payment.
And
then were you able to get good interest rates because of the fact that you had good proof that you can actually fill the house with a tenant and get them to pay consistently?
The interest rates were pretty much the market rates at the time. I can negotiate interest rates, but I can't negotiate them that much. I would need a larger portfolio to be with a certain bank to be able to say, hey, listen, I need a lower interest rate. There's a little negotiation, but it was mostly just I got the fair market interest rate.
So you can't get to those good, like super good interest rates until you really have like a decent portfolio stacked up.
Yeah, from my understanding, yes.
Got it. Okay. So you mortgaged this one, and then you started filling those. And then so were the tenants that lived in this new duplex that you got fully paying off the monthly mortgage payments?
Yes. So before I purchased the property, I did the estimate, and I said after I invest the down payment, or after I purchase the property, with the initial down payment, and if I put like $10,000 into the property of renovations, new flooring, maybe some new kitchen cabinets, like the Lowe's stock kitchen cabinets, they're pretty good. They get the job done, and they're cheap.
I'll check them out.
Yeah,
thanks.
Check them out. They'll get the job done. I did the numbers, and I made sure after I put in that money that I'll be making that monthly profit. And it turned out that I was correct. I took that risk. It turned out that I was correct, though, and that I am making a monthly profit. So that initial investment that I put in of the $10,000 in renovation,
and it all depended on if I see it. Just to make sure, it all depended on if the renovations were good enough that you could charge more enough that it would pay for the mortgage, right? Like if you didn't renovate it, you probably wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage from the tenant's rent.
It would be close, to be honest with you. I'd probably still profit, but you want to have a safety cushion of
not enough. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth your time to do that. Probably.
I'd be attracting tenants who might give me issues. If you're renting out a nasty place, you're gonna get nastier tenants. It's just simple. It's as simple as that.
So I heard Graham Stephan say that he doesn't raise the rent on his tenants until they leave, and so that's like a promise he can make to his tenants. What is your belief on that?
Funny story. I actually did meet Graham Stephan one time. I emailed him asking him if he'd be interested in collaborating on a video of some sort. I told him I was into YouTube, and this was before he was big. This is way before he was big. So I met him in California when I went on a trip with my family. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Awesome. I'm a little jealous.
How he is on his podcast, you think he's super knowledgeable, nice guy. He's exactly the same. He's a super nice guy.
That's
and
awesome.
we met him at one of his open houses in the Hollywood Hills. It was a cool experience.
That's awesome.
What was your
yeah. But so the question was Graham Stephan. I saw Graham Stephan say, I don't charge my tenants any more money. Like I don't ever raise rent on my tenants until they leave. And then I will raise it for the next person who comes in. But my promise to tenants is always that if you rent this place out, I'm never going to raise your rent. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, so my opinion on that is every market is different, first of all. So in his market in LA, it's a lot more strict from my understanding. It's strict in a competitive sense. It's a lot more competitive, let's say. So when you get a good tenant in LA, you probably want to keep that tenant and you're probably willing to give them a good rate on the rent, right? From my experience, the town that I invested in, there were a lot more. It seems like there are a lot more tenants than there were housing available. Like it seems like there was a lot of people searching. So that was good timing on the market. On my end, it just luck. I think there's a lot of luck in investing in general. There's risk taking.
Is that also because at least with your first property, you were near a college? I don't know if this is just random observation, but I feel like I notice even by my school, I'm in college right now, that like it always feels like there's way more people looking for housing than there are houses. Is that like a normal trend? And like, is there an opportunity to capitalize off that? Like, is that a market inefficiency, or has the market not caught up to how fast college towns need new people?
Yeah, I'm not sure, only because I don't invest nationwide. I just invest in my small town. I know my market essentially. I'm looking to investing in other areas because why not? If I want to expand on my real estate portfolio, it's something that you should do. Diversify different areas. I think that might be honestly an not untapped, but a very good market for someone who's starting in real estate to get into, right? So when you're renting out to college students, there's like an additional risk and headache that's involved in that. Like Bennett, you're in college. Think about all your friends in college right now in the dorm rooms. I don't know if you live in dorms or like the townhomes or not, whatever. Imagine all of those kids in a place that you own. Like, wouldn't you be a little worried about what they're doing in there?
I would not be confident that at the end of the year when they leave, that it would be in the same condition that they entered. Yeah, that's how I would feel about that.
So, to keep it simple, college students will pay more money, but they will give you an extra headache and they'll leave your place in worse condition on the way out. So you got to take you got to be a little proactive with that, and make sure that there's nothing that they can destroy in the house that's super valuable, and just make sure that there's a good communication between you and them. And make sure you're renting out to someone who shows respect for your property. But to go back to what we were talking about, it might be a very good starting spot for new real estate investors because of how much money the college students pay. Go and buy a duplex or a single family home near a college and rent it out to students. See how much the students are paying per month or per year in your area. And you might find a good investment.
I think also you probably have a good opportunity to find someone who doesn't understand the market well, right? Like a college student is normally not from that area and doesn't understand like the housing market in that area at all. And so you could probably get away with ending up with like overcharging without them even realizing.
Yeah.
And normally it's partially at least funded by their parents, which is much more trustworthy than, necessarily just one person.
Yes, you can get parents to sign on the leases as well. There's a way to do that. But you can, as an investor, I have the flexibility to be able to go and list an apartment for rent at above market price if I want to. It's my building. I can do what I want with it. I'm not looking to take advantage of anybody in any negative way. But if I'm going to go and list my apartment for above market rent, just to see if someone is interested in it, it's up to them to contact me. It's up to them to do their own research on the market rent. Let's say the location is super convenient for them and they find that it's a perfect fit, then it's a win-win for everybody.
And it avoids them having to keep doing more research kind of. But my other question, I'll get into soon about how you actually scale this up because we're at chronologically, I guess we're at your second property. But I also wanted to ask, so like right now let's say I have some money saved up. I want to start, but my concern is like, okay, like your first property, you put a large down payment. Sorry, you just bought it in full, not even a down payment or a mortgage. What is there a risk for me if I do that? I buy a house and some natural disaster happens or some event with the town happens and the property drops a lot in value. And the only thing I can do is sell it, like, or rent it out to a tenant and pay way below what I thought I would be able to do. Is there a realistic risk of that? And like, what would happen in that case? It just means that the property loses some of its value. I sell it and I go from spending 50K to selling it and then making back like 40 and just losing 10 grand like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. This is actually a major benefit of the real estate market that I enjoy. My channel, my Music Life channel, it went from making so much money to making almost nothing. In real estate, the market has hundreds and hundreds of years of stability, and it doesn't fluctuate like trends do in the media. So I understand you mentioned like natural disaster, which is, you can't account for that, but
it's pretty low likelihood, I guess. But I mean, like, how many types of low likelihood things are there that altogether add up to the risk? Like, what are like worst case scenarios that could happen if I spent 50K on a unit and started trying to use it as an investment?
I think the risk is very low. From my perspective, I'm a risk taker in general. So from my perspective, it's low. I think that some other people it'll be higher. But when you buy a property, you have to get insurance on it in order to get a loan, essentially. So I have insurance on all my properties. If anything was to go majorly wrong, I should be covered by insurance. It's hard to trust insurance companies, as we've all probably. If you were 26 years old, you probably experienced something, or have a family member who's had a bad experience with insurance. It's not fun, but I should be covered in the event of something drastic.
Okay. So that you mitigate the risk by having insurance on like something going crazy wrong. So if the property somehow lost all of its value from some bizarre major disaster, you'd still be fine, most likely.
Yes.
And really the main risk is actually there's a huge debate about this. I feel like whether you should invest your money in something that's actually fully passive, like just an index fund in the stock market, or whether you should invest it in something that is more risky. My opinion is that, especially towards the beginning of your career, you should. It really all depends on how much you trust your ability, right? And so I'd rather invest in something that I actually have control over the future of it, right? So the stock market, you invest in, like, if you end up controlling how much money that index fund makes, that's called market manipulation, and it's not even allowed. So even if you did somehow have enough influence to sway the outcome of that, you wouldn't be allowed to even do that. Versus something like real estate, if you have a good eye for picking a property, or probably more likely in your case, actually renovating it well, you know what I mean? A skill that you might have a comparative advantage over other people in. That's the risk. And so what you're betting on really is your own abilities. And I think, well, again, it depends how you feel about yourself, but I think that's a better bet to make, especially earlier in your career, at least in my opinion. Because if you can't make that bet, then your income earning potential is capped regardless.
Yeah, I think with the stock market, if you're investing in index funds, I think like the general idea of doing that is to try to make about, like, let's say you're just like a casual investor trying to grow wealth over time. You're trying to make about like, what, 6 to 10% per year. Would that be pretty fair?
Yeah.
So with real estate, if you're looking to make 6 to 10% per year, I would say stay away from real estate. Just put your money in the market and it'll grow over time. Yeah, you don't have control over it, but you have to just put your trust in the US economy or the world economy. If you're from other, you can invest in the entire world if you wanted. I think there's going to be less returns over the long run in that case, but I would say stay away from real estate if you're looking to make that much investment. But if you want to take a risk and if you want to make some real, big percentages, go and find a property in a decent area that has issues with it, right? I'm not talking about a complete like demolition and rebuild. I'm talking a single family or a duplex that has really outdated flooring with like floorboards coming up and the walls are kind of falling apart a little bit. There's nothing wrong with buying that building for cheap, and make sure it is cheap. You have to use some comparisons, going in and fixing it up. And you can make much higher returns if you hold on to that. If you fix it up, rent it out, and then sell the property, or you can sell it right away if you wanted to. You just have to pay taxes on the gains,
Right.
sell it, which is the downside of selling.
I
But
see. So
returns
your
are
best
much
hedge,
higher in real estate if you're willing to play it risky and get your hands a little dirty.
right? And then the way you hedge against the potential risks is you get really good at the skill of making good renovations and finding tenants effectively, and that's a skill that people can develop. So potentially you start and you practice, you get reps in with that skill at the smallest possible level that you can, like you said, like a trailer or something. And then once you become more confident in that skill, now you have pretty good reason to say, okay, yeah, for a normal person, like getting this house, putting a little bit of time renovating it, yeah, that would be a big risk for like a normal person. But I know how to do that, right? Like for me, it's not really that risky if someone said like juggle 5 balls for me. So if there was a $10,000 bounty, but you'd lose $1,000 if you dropped, and all you had to do was juggle 5 balls, that's not very risky for me, but it's very risky for almost everyone else who didn't dedicate their life to something useless. So
100% skill involved in this for sure. I'm not who likes to go in and fix up flooring or put in cabinets. I barely know how to do it, to be honest with you.
But you know how to find people to do it, and that's what matters.
Yes, you have to find people, and if you're starting out, you're gonna have to find people who will do it for cheap. So you kind of have to keep an eye on them, because a lot of times people don't do things the right way. They're just looking to make a quick buck. That's most the case for most people. So you have to kind of keep an eye on it.
How do you find people? How do you find people that you think will do it the right way and are still cheap?
It's hit or miss, to be honest with you. I've been through a lot when it comes, like, this. One of the hardest parts of the business is finding reliable people to work with. I've been scammed. I've been taken advantage of with, like, I don't know how to roof a house, so someone will just come in and say, "Oh yeah, there's a bunch of issues wrong with your house or with your roof," and I'm like, "Okay, sure, fix it." And then come to find out, oh, they just billed me $5,000 to do very little work. So you can get taken advantage of in this business. So you have to keep your guard up. That's part of the risk. I just think in the long run, the risk usually does pay off as long as you're willing to put in that work.
Right. To invest in you picking up the skills that you need for the investment to be worth it. And then it becomes way less risky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever see myself going in and renovating places with my hands. Like, I see myself hiring out a lot of the work, right? I grew up.
Is still a skill. I said that is the skill though. Like when I say skill, I don't mean picking up the skills of roofing yourself. I think the skill of hiring, yeah, and that is a really hard skill, and it's actually probably, if done effectively, one of the highest possible return skills.
Sure.
It's like
management and communication, right?
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, like, no CEO like is building, putting the screw into the car, right? The ultimate skill that you need is recruiting the right people and managing them correctly, right? And so I think if you can master that, that's actually probably the highest lever you have on how quickly and how big you can scale a huge real estate portfolio to, or any sort of business that you're working on. I definitely noticed this with the YouTube automation business that I'm working on. How big we can take it actually comes down to how well I'm able to get people that I trust and that are talented into the business. Because if I don't hire anyone and I try to do it myself, well, I can't manage that many channels at once. So there's no scale that's going to be achieved without that. If I do hire someone, but they're ass, the channel is going to flop. So the only thing, really the highest return thing that I could possibly do is bring someone on, pay them to edit for me, and then pay someone else to post for me and have them do it on my behalf, and make sure I make the good recruits and manage them well. And from there, it's possible to own like 10 channels, kind of similar to a real estate portfolio, but taking up digital real estate, I guess.
Yeah, very similar in terms of managing and dealing with people. You have to be willing to communicate with them, and it's just an
Yeah.
experience thing. I have a lot to learn myself. So
Okay, so another thing I wanted to get into, especially since we were comparing like stocks versus real estate, what do you know about the tax benefits of real estate? So with stocks, you have the benefit of like a Roth IRA, where if you contribute at an early age, you can let it grow tax free all the way until retirement.
mm-hmm.
What benefits are there in real estate when it comes to taxes?
Yeah, so this is something that I understand the basics of, but it's something I want to learn a lot more about because there are a lot of benefits. I have an accountant that I work with, and I'm kind of let him do a lot of like the thinking, if that makes sense. But one of the benefits is almost everything that I purchased that is somewhat usable for my business, I can write off and deduct from my taxable income.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have $50,000 in taxable income for 1 year, and the IRS is saying, the IRS wants to tax me on that 50,000 according to my tax bracket. Because I own a business, I can take anything that I purchased, any tools that I purchased, my computer stuff, this whole setup, like my lights here. I'm doing a podcast with you right now talking about real estate. This is going to help my business. This is all a tax write-off. The tripod that I'm using right now, the speakers, my piano, somehow, no, I don't know if it was, but anyway, all that stuff is, thousands of dollars worth of stuff in this room. It's all going to be deducted from my taxable income. So I'm going to pay less in taxes. And for people
Right.
who have normal jobs and with no business, you're going to pay the full amount. You're going to be paying so much in tax. I don't pay a lot of tax, to be honest with you, because if I have a lot of income in 1 year, my goal is to spend money to get write-offs before the end of that year.
Right. On things that you were going to buy anyways, though.
Yeah. For the most part, I mean, if let's say at the end of the year, I'm going to pay a lot in taxes, but the fridge in one of my units is like, is starting to not work very well. I might go and sell that fridge for $300 and buy a brand new fridge, a really nice one that'll last me, I don't know how long fridges last, maybe 10 years or something like that. It even trickles into my own personal life. Like my business and my personal life, they trickle into each other, even in this financial world. So a lot of the things that I buy for myself that I like to use personally, I can also use for business. Yeah. And it's a win-win. If you don't have a business, I highly recommend figuring out how to start one so that you can deduct from your taxable income.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. It's like I also like run the things I do under an LLC, and so like there's a lot of overlap between things that I personally would want anyways and things that are necessary and ordinary IRS for a business expense. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Like this mic, my tripod, my webcam, all of that is definitely necessary and ordinary for what I'm doing. But I would like a nice setup regardless. So good thing that, I get to write that off. But the way I view that is it's basically just giving me a percentage off what the normal thing would be, right? So like if my marginal tax rate would have been 20%, it means that when I buy that webcam, I'm actually getting it for 20% off essentially, since it's a business expense.
Exactly.
That's the way that I think about it.
I've thought about that before too. Like if you do the math behind it and you understand it fully, it's almost like you're getting whatever your tax bracket is, let's say 20%. It's almost like you're getting a 20% discount on these items. It's an amazing thing. It really is. And that's something I want to learn more about. So with your servers, Bennett, I think we should try to find people who understand tax very well. Maybe some accountants.
That's a good. That's a good idea.
Maybe
a very good idea.
Yeah, maybe we should try to people.
That's a great idea. Let's do that right after this podcast.
Okay.
The other thing I think though that I've heard about, at least I've heard, no matter how much of a clown Grant Cardone is, I have heard about the like cash out refinance benefit that you get from adding in a new property, or if you sell a property and then use that money to buy a new property. Is this something you've used?
Yes.
So how does that work?
That's an essential part of real estate investing over the long term, in my opinion. With someone who doesn't have with someone who wants to grow wealth with real estate, I think it's an essential part. If you have a bunch of money and you're just looking to invest, I wouldn't worry about mortgages. You don't, if you're not looking to like grow a huge portfolio and you just want to invest your money into a safe place, just buy a house outright. If you have the money,
Mhm.
but not many people do, of course. But to answer your questions about the refinance part of it, for that first property that I purchased with my father, we actually refinanced that one and took out the equity. So it was worth 80,000. We invested maybe 10,000 into it. According to the market, it's worth more like 130. I know that didn't make sense. We only put 10K into it, but sometimes you get more bang for your buck. I think that's a good term to use here.
Yeah, I think there's an
Money.
I think it's arbitrage is what's happening essentially, right? Like there's added value for repackaging a house for repackaging a better house.
Yeah, that mixed with, I made it sound like it all happened at once, but this is like over a couple of
Yeah,
years, some
right. Also with
appreciating
just
the labor
rising
market
costs of
team.
housing. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a few things. But anyway, we refinanced it and took out 80% of the equity. So we have 20% of the equity still in the property. And then we took out 80% as a loan. I used that money, put the down payment on my next duplex.
Okay. So wait, first of all, could you just explain in English first what a cash out refinance is, and then let me go into how you did it with this specific rental unit.
Yeah. So from my understanding of it, and I've only done this a couple times just as a disclaimer, it's simple. To put it in simple terms, you go to the bank, and I recommend going to a bank that you have a relationship with. They're going to be able to trust you a little bit more. So if you don't have a bank account, I mean, everybody should have one. At this point,
Yeah,
that you have
the 14-year-old watching this, like,
Yeah.
uh,
Honestly, if you're 14 watching this, figure out how you can open up a bank account and build a relationship with a bank. It's just my opinion. But anyway, go to your bank and say, I want to refinance my property. We've been making steady income on it for years, and I want to refinance it and take out the equity. And basically, what that means is your property has value, and the bank will give you a loan with the property as collateral. And what that means is if you were to not make your loan payment, so let's say my loan payment is $500 a month, principal and interest combined, which is really low. But anyway, if I wasn't making those payments, let's say I blew all my money on, on whatever, I ate out,
cocaine.
yeah, on anything, right? On luxury items. If I had no money left, I wasn't renting my properties because I'm too lazy to get the tenants in there. I'm not able to pay my mortgage. So if I don't pay my mortgage, what they'll do is they'll foreclose the property and they will claim it, and then they'll sell it and to try to make some of their money back. And you definitely don't want that to happen because it goes on your permanent on a record of yours, and no bank will want a loan to you after that. But essentially, it's a very, very useful. Refinancing is a very useful tool because you can take out a loan and use that loan money to invest into another property. And as long as you show that you can do all the math and the numbers make sense, as long as you can show that it all makes sense to the bank, they will give you enough.
Right.
Like,
And so the benefit there basically is if you had tried to get that money in any other way, you'd have to sell the property, you'd lose the passive income from the tenant, and you'd have to pay capital gains tax on however much the property increased in value. But through a cash out refinance, right, and a capital gains tax is going to be like 20% probably. Through a cash out refinance, you get to keep the tenant giving you that monthly passive income. If you bought which this first property you bought in full, you can use that tenant's income or rent money to pay the mortgage payments, or not, I guess just loan payments on the cash out refinance. And then you get to extract 80% of the value of that house and use it to buy more properties with no tax. The only extra payment that's happening is the interest rate, which is what, like 5 to 10% per year, something like that.
yeah, it's like right now it's like 6.5, I think, something around there. But the cost of the loan is that interest that you're paying.
Okay.
In the way that mortgage loans work, because it's such a high amount of money that you're borrowing, the way it works is you actually pay a lot more interest in the beginning of the loan than towards the end. So in the beginning, you might be paying, let's say your principal and interest payment was $500 total. That might be $400 interest and $100 principal. And it hurts a little bit as an investor to pay so much in interest to the bank. It's literally you're paying fees to the bank. I'm paying $400 a month just for them to give me this money. But in the long run, it works out as long as you're keeping up with your finances
because
and
you get to avoid having to lose a tenant by selling the property and avoid any of the capital gains tax that would be paid if you did sell the property.
Yes. And if you're trying to invest in real estate, you shouldn't sell the property. You should refinance it and buy another one because you're going to keep that tenant, like you said.
Now you keep that. Yeah, right. You keep that house as an asset. You still have a tenant paying you monthly income. And now you actually also have cash to use to buy your next property. So that's how you get to become more liquid or have more actual cash on hand without ever having to sell the asset that you actually worked so hard to buy, renovate, and fill with a tenant.
Yes, well said. That's exactly correct.
Okay, got it. And then so comparing this to stocks, right? I don't know what the rules are, but are you allowed to use your stocks as collateral in the same way that you're able to use a house as collateral, or is this a unique benefit that comes with real estate?
I'm not sure, to be honest, with stocks. I think you might be able to do that, but I think it is a unique benefit with real estate, especially with investing in multifamily property. Like if you're buying a single family property for yourself, the bank isn't going to be as keen to give you a loan if you don't have a stable income. But if you're investing in a multifamily property that's going to produce you stable monthly revenue, as long as that stable monthly revenue is enough to cover the costs of owning the building, along with paying your mortgage, the bank will be much more willing to give you a loan.
Got it. And so you've used that in combination with cash out refinancing to go from starting with one property to two units and now up to 6 units now. And same rinse and repeat cycle. Is there anything new that's happened getting from 2 to 6 than it did from 1 to 2?
It's a rinse and repeat cycle in a general sense, but every investment is different. Like you have to get into it. There's a lot that goes into it. What was that?
It's its own strategic play every piece of real estate that you decide to invest in.
It's not, and nothing is exactly the same. Kind of have to figure it out as you go along. My next investment, like right now, me thinking, I want to just do the same thing that I did with my other properties because it's been working out. Well, in reality, I might get into it and then find out, oh, this town has different regulations when it comes to this, and it might make it a little bit different.
Right. But you've still been cash out refinancing for every new unit that you bring in.
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Okay. And then still been renovating, finding something that's a little bit torn down, but not terrible, renovating it, renting it out to a new tenant, and then just continuing the cycle.
Yes. For the next building.
It lets you multiply tax-free, basically. The only added payment is the loan is the added interest on the cash out refinance. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And when I sold the original property, I had to pay capital gains on it, but I was actually able to, work with my accountant to try to figure out how to minimize how much tax I'm paying because I invested the money into the single family home that I have now. So I used all the profit that I made from that original investment that I sold, and I took the profit and I put it into a new building so that I didn't have to pay taxes on it. It is a cycle, and it's chaotic in way, and it's hard to keep track of all the numbers. I don't know exactly how much money I have, and I don't know exactly how much money I make. It's just the game. It's just the way it is.
Right, because you took the earned income that you had instead of paying tax on it. You used that earned income to buy another property, which increases your net worth because now you own another property, but decreases your earned income because you now just spent the money that you made. but it's on what you spent it on is something that's going to appreciate in value and is going to have a tenant in there paying you monthly for more earned income.
Yes, but if you're buying a property, your net worth doesn't increase right away. It only
Right, because
if you add value to the property and increase and figure out a way to add value without putting too much money into it or
right.
over time.
Right. Your net worth is still on paper. Your net worth is still not even on paper. It is the same because however much you spent on the house, you also, assuming you didn't do a down payment on it, or even if you did do a down payment on it, you are just transferring cash that you had to ownership of money in a different form. So from cash to real estate, your amount of money is the same. It's just not liquid anymore.
Yes. And
But
there's only one case where you can actually increase your net worth right away, and that would be by buying an undervalued building. So if you go in the market and they exist, they're out there. You know, if you're willing to do the research and look at the market every day, you can buy a building for $100,000 that's actually worth $130,000. You know that.
And so you could.
When I buy a building, that's what I try to do. I try to find the cheapest possible.
Do you look for motivated sellers? So I know there's certain circumstances where a seller will have like some sort of emergency where they have to sell it quick. Like they're looking to, I don't know, pay for a surgery and they need cash. They need to be liquid right now. So they're looking to sell it for their surgery in the next week. Maybe that's an extreme example, but you get the idea. Do you find people like that? And then like, do you try to snipe people like that? And then, you know, oh, you need to sell it right now? Yeah, I'll take that one. And I'll offer you half of it.
Like those wholesalers that you see in the real estate world right now. I don't know his name, but I've been seeing clips of him from time to time. He seems like he does a great job. He's a really good salesman. You might know who I'm thinking of. But anyway, I'm not a wholesaler, so I don't have like, 100% accuracy sniping people in their situations. But for example, I think it was the third property that I bought. It was an estate sale, which means the person that was in there passed away, and the property went into an estate. It's like a legal term, basically, which means it was basically passed down to his children, or whoever was in the estate, right? So the children basically now own the property. So imagine you right now. I don't want to say anything that would offend anybody, but just imagine you were passed a piece of real estate right now down onto you. So all of a sudden, Bennett, you own a duplex in wherever in the United States. What would you be thinking right now? A vacant duplex you own in the United States. It's in crappy condition. What would you be thinking?
Like, I don't want to deal with. I'm not gonna live there. I don't want to deal with it. Someone just take this off my. Like, how much can I sell this for? Could someone just take this off my hands so I don't have to deal with it?
Yeah,
probably is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So, in most cases, that's how it is. The kids just want to get rid of it, so it goes onto the market at a low price, and they'll accept the best offer that's presented to them. If you have enough cash to buy the building in cash, 100% go for it, because the sellers will likely take your offer over someone who's getting a mortgage, because it takes a lot longer for that to go through, and there's a lot more ways that the deal could go bad.
Right. And so you'll be able to literally just increase your net worth by just buying a piece of real estate where the seller doesn't want to put much effort into finding the absolute best deal. And you'll be able, especially if you go in cash, just be able to offer them probably the best deal based on the amount of research they're willing to do. And it would still be less than the building's worth if you actually listed it on the market correctly.
Yes. If it in mid to large size cities, this style of investing, this strategy of investing, is going to be a lot competitive. Like, you're going to be competing with other investors for sure. But if you go to really small towns across the United States, I bet you can find really good estate sales.
And so you could probably even do that. Even if you didn't renovate, you might even be able to flip the houses and make a profit.
Yeah, you can. That's what wholesalers do.
Yeah. But you think it can be even more effective to just put in a little bit of money renovating it, make it actually look nice, and then when you're actually able to sell it, people just perceive that value as way higher.
I mean, every investor will have a different strategy. That's just what I know how to do. So for me, yes,
Got it.
that's the case.
Okay, cool. And then so let's just look at where you're at now. 6 properties. What is the total amount of money that they're worth? Or 6 units, sorry, but yeah.
Yes. So I'm biased. I'm estimating the value of the properties, and I'm biased because I own them, right? But I have a lot of experience in real estate, so I estimate my properties to be worth around $800 to $1 million, maybe even 1.1 million.
Mm-hmm. And then, but you still have some loans outstanding on some of those properties?
Yes, I do have debt on the multifamily properties, but not the single family that I own.
Okay,
I
got
bought
it.
the single family outright, and I invested a lot of.
And then, so that's
money.
netting you $8,000 a month on top of, the actual value of the portfolio in tenant revenue.
Yes. And anybody that does the math on that, they're going to be like, there's no way he's making that much money from his investments. I can assure you that I actually am, and I'll explain why. Anybody who's in real estate will do the numbers and be like, there's no way he's making that much money. But so I tried out something kind of interesting that this is kind of maybe like a untapped market kind of situation. So anybody listening to this podcast, you might be able to benefit from it. If you go in and buy a duplex in a favorable location, and when I said duplex, a duplex is the easiest, cheapest way to get into multifamily investing. If you have more money, then sure, buy a bigger building. But a duplex as well, start with, a duplex, which is 2 units. You can go in and furnish the units and list them on Airbnb during the peak seasons. So in the peak season, you might make $4,000 a month on your Airbnbs. You're going to have to do some market research to make sure that your market actually does have travelers going through and wanting to stay in Airbnbs. But in a lot of cases, I think that this can work. So 3 months out of the year, we'll say, is the peak season. You rent it for those 3 months, make $4,000 a month. Your expenses will be a little bit higher because you're going to have to pay a cleaner and maybe a little bit more maintenance and supplies. But overall, you're going to be making maybe an extra $1,500 in profit for those 3 months. During the off season, you still need to rent out your property to have an income. Otherwise, it's not worth it to do the furnishing. So now you have a furnished unit that you're going to try to rent during an off season. It's not going to be the easiest depending on your market, but if you list it online in, a lot of different places, I've had a lot of success with Furnished Finder so far. That one seems to be doing really well. Like, you type in furnished housing on Google right now, I bet you Furnished Finder will pop up. I think they're like a nationwide kind of platform.
And that's a service that just furnishes a house.
It's a service that helps people find furnished housing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so travel nurses are very big on Furnished Finder. They'll go on to furnishedfinder.com,
Right.
and they'll find houses in your area, furnished houses in the area. If you live near a hospital, this is 100%. You got to look into this because you might be able to make. You might
That's such a niche market, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah, if you live near a big hospital, for sure look into this because you can. It's like a way to invest in real estate right near you. So during that off season, you'll go and rent it out for you're not going to get the $4,000 a month that you're getting from Airbnb during the peak season, but you'll still get more per month than you would by renting it out without the furnishings. For example, in one of my units, I was making $1,350 per month. This is kind of crazy, honestly. $1,350 per month without furnishings, right? After their lease ended, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try furnishing this. I'm going to take the risk. I put $8,000 in furnishings and decorations and whatnot into the place. My girlfriend helped me do that. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. And it sucked to spend $8,000 and not know if I'm going to make it back quickly or at all. And then I listed it on the market or on Airbnb. It did pretty well. It's a little slow in the beginning when you get caught up on Airbnb. But then I found a tenant. It was an insurance company who had a client. And I told them, listen, the rent right now during the winter is $2,900. I think I said it's $2,900 per month. that includes everything: furnishing, Wi-Fi, utilities, everything. I just made it easy for the insurance company. So they were like, "Oh yeah, this is good for our our tenant. The only problem is we need a place for our tenant to stay over the summer as well, which is the peak season that I usually rent on Airbnb. So instead I told them, listen, I'll rent it out to you for $4,000 a month flat rate for a year, 1 year lease. It was like about a year lease, I think. And they agreed to it. So I have a tenant in there.
Whoa.
I had a tenant. I think they're actually, no, they're still in there. They extended. They're in there for $4,000 a month right now. So I went
That's insane.
$1,350 a month to making $4,000 a month just by doing those furnishings. I made my investment back in a couple of months, basically.
That's
Well,
insane.
kind of like realistically with like the labor and the furnishing
Like
costs,
3 to 4 months, probably.
4 months, let's say. I made my money back in 4 months, and now I'm just turning profit right now. I'm making past.
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
haven't talked to them barely. There's just
Yes,
between
there's a
living and
little
furnished
upfront work to get a tenant that you know is that you are pretty confident is going to be trustworthy, and then from there, they just auto pay straight from their card to straight from their bank account to your bank account, and you just chill and take that money in.
I mean, it's the insurance company that's paying me right now. I don't have to worry about it really.
Right, right.
I have they put down a $4,000 security deposit as well, so I don't have to worry like if anything is damaged in the unit, I'm covered on the way out.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's freaking crazy.
that's how I feel right now. I'm like, it almost feels like a cheat code. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay. It took me
No,
a
that
while
is
to get to
100%
this
a
point.
cheat. Yeah, I said 100% that's a cheat code.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. No, I think I think I don't want to gatekeep any information, and I don't think this podcast will go viral. I hope for your sake, Bennett, since this is going on your channel, that it does. Uh, so I don't think my strategy is gonna like get saturated quickly. I don't think things get saturated in real estate though. It takes too much
Well,
time
look,
and it's too stable.
let's say this podcast gets 10 million views and you become super famous for finding this genius strategy. I'm positive you will be able to make more money from that than you will from using the strategy, even if it gets saturated.
That is true.
You know, there's going to be people wanting to pay you a ton of money just to work with you and learn from you if that happens.
No, that is so true actually. So for a to cover myself, I'm just gonna say right now, for anybody listening that wants to learn more about real estate, I would be willing to share my knowledge with you, like with a one-on-one consulting, something like that.
Nice. I'm perfectly happy people using my platform to market themselves, as long as they're willing to hop on the platform and share
Actually,
for free. So
can we cancel this podcast? I'm just gonna start my own podcast right now. I'm all pumped up now.
yeah.
No, I'm joking. No, your
Okay.
platform. I've met so many great people through your platform already, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's great. So that leads nicely into what I kind of wanted to end with. So you went from making money online to now making money. I guess I'm sure you're using some tools online, but really this is a physical thing that you're doing. And then back to, it seems like when I first talked to you, you started picking back up with some music channels, but interestingly, rather than going with the old strategy of you finding the music yourself, you found a way to code a channel to make these music compilations. Talk to me about when you started this, like relating to real estate, when you decided to get back into this and how that's been going so far.
Yeah, so it's still in the early stages. So I honestly, I would love to, like, after like maybe a few months of refining it, I would love to hop back on your podcast. And that way we can share the entire thing. But for now, I'll keep it simple with what I've done.
Yeah.
So I've decided that although real estate is a big part of my life and it's something that I enjoy doing, I don't think it's my end goal passion, if that makes sense. I think real estate for me is just a place where I'm going to always be able to put money after I've made it. And it'll grow me wealth over time. Right. So I've realized that my passion is more in online, making money online and in media. I make music recreationally. I play video games.
I see your piano there.
Yeah. It's all recreational, but who knows? I might release music at some point. I'm not sure what the future holds. But anyway, it's something I'm more passionate about, and in high school, I took a coding class. It was a Python coding class. So I learned a lot of the basics there. And then after that, I kind of self-taught myself a lot of Python. And now that AI is just absolutely insane with coding, it is so good that I'm able to create using my own knowledge and AI. Honestly, AI does most of it, of course, does a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm able to create custom Python scripts that allow me to create videos on YouTube. So from the video creation process all the way to uploading, I'm able to automate those processes. And currently I have, I think it's 10 different channels that I'm posting on.
10. Okay, that's insane. So the guy I talked to last time on the podcast, this will be episode 2. So episode 1 was some guy doing this with these like creepy pasta, insomnia, like scary stories basically being voiced.
Yeah.
And he just grinded with like one channel. And I was like, dude, like he was making like 50K a year from his main channel. I'm like, bro, get a second channel rolling. Like he literally was at the point where it's like click a button, 2 minutes later, full 1 hour start to finish video created and like ready to be uploaded.
Yeah,
and I'm like with thumbnail and everything. I'm like, dude, like get a second channel rolling. Like, so you kind of took the opposite approach. You have 10 channels, and so how much success is, let's say, the most successful and the least successful of your channel seeing? And just to clarify, it's just shorts music compilations or also long form music compilations?
So
and how are you getting around the copyright this time? Sorry for spamming like 10 questions. But.
No problem. I'm happy to answer those. So it's almost all long form content. I'm just now starting with the shorts content. So that's kind of why I prefer to like explain all this more in detail, maybe in another podcast or something. Or if anyone wants to join your server, I'd be happy to talk in the server. It's kind of a long explanation. But right now I have a channel that's focused around funk music, like PHONK, funk.
Funk. Right?
Yeah, it's well with like the anime community and the video editing community.
Yeah, and the gym community, I feel like.
Oh yeah, the gym community for sure.
A lot of cringe gym people being like, not me, but
you call it cringe, but I'm kind of with it. Like I listen to funk music at the gym sometimes.
Oh no, I love it. I love it. I still think it's, but I still love it and listen to it myself. Yeah.
That's funny. And no, it's cringy. I think it's because of like our age or something. I don't know. Like everything from the younger generations just seems cringy to me.
Yeah, I think it's cringe because it's like every funk song sounds like you're trying to be a badass. I think that's why it's
to destroy your speakers and distort it to the point where I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely cringy. We'll just leave it at that. But anyway, to answer your questions here, can you remind me, what was your main question?
Yeah, so I think it was like, what is your best channel making right now and what is your worst channel making? And then how are you getting around the copyright this time compared to, I remember your first channel, you grew it to 300K subs, but there was the whole copyright issue.
Yes. So in the beginning, copyright was a lot less strict. And this was back in the day when I was doing the Music Life channel. Copyright was a lot less strict, and I was working with a multi-common network, and they helped me release a lot of the claims that were on the videos. I guess they worked with record labels to get the claims released. And a lot of it was just like nonchalant. I guess it was very basic. Now it's very strict. Like artists want to make more money in royalties, so you can't do it as well. So the way I get around that today is a very similar strategy to what I had back in the day when I first started. It's by posting non-copyright music. That's one of the strategies. And the other strategy is by releasing my own music. Because I do have recreational knowledge of music production, I've created my own beats and put them in my videos and claim them from a third-party distributor. I think is a proper name.
So that way, if anyone else tries to use your song in that video, you can actually claim it at that point.
I'm claiming. So before that, first, I'm posting my own music in my own videos along with other copyright music.
Yeah.
So
in like a compilation video.
a compilation video and I stick my song in there. So now
Yep.
if I get a video with 100,000 views, how much would you, if it was 100,000 monetized views on one of your channels, Bennett, how much on long form, how much do you think you would make from that?
Like $300 probably.
Okay, $300, right? That's $300 divided up between each and every claimant in the video. So
Hmm.
I'm sharing free. It's not easy to make money doing what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I'm making 300 so far, and this so far it's not easy to make money.
300 divided by times your portion of the video that's actually your songs.
Yeah, so like I might make $10 that month because I'm sharing, or probably less, $5 because I'm sharing it with everybody.
But you need to use these other songs in order for people to actually bother listening to your funk compilation. Otherwise, if like they're all unknown songs, someone would probably just click off.
Exactly. I need to use popular
I
music
see.
in order to compete with the market. Music is so easy to post on YouTube and play. I think it's like a meme at this point to create playlists. Like you look at a playlist creator and you're like, oh, you're just a playlist, oh, what a weirdo. What a weirdo. He's posting
Yeah.
playlists online. Well, I'm apparently that weirdo. And but I figure out how to make money off of it. So
I see. And so you have this going on 10 channels. How many are you posting a day on each of them?
yes. So my current strategy is posting one video. It varies from channel to channel since I'm in the experimenting phase right now. I'm doing a lot of experimenting. So this is like take this loosely, but I'm posting about once every 3 or 4 days
On
Well,
each channel. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. The guy I talked to before was posting literally just one video a day.
Yeah.
So it seemed like he was able to get away with that and still be able to pull in views. And then so how much are you making altogether from them right now?
So altogether, they're making me. It's hard to tell because I haven't gotten the revenue back from the music that I put in my own videos. I haven't gotten that revenue back because I just started that up a few months ago, and it takes like 3 months for YouTube to release the claim,
Right.
the
Yeah.
info on that. But I estimate it to be about $500 a month in total. And keep in mind, this is
Okay.
fine. It's not that's not enough money to live off of, but it's a start, right? And keep in mind, this is $500 a month that all you need is a collection of photos, and you need to manually create some playlists on YouTube. After you have, like I have a 200 song list of good songs on YouTube. My code does the rest of the lifting, right? So I could make $500 a month just by running my code each night before I go to bed. I'll run it once and I'll make like 10 videos in one night. I can continue making this
Right.
money.
So you made a playlist manually that took a little bit of effort up front, but your code remixes those songs into new, unique combinations each time, which you never have to do. So walk me through the code. When you click the button, what happens, like start to finish, and then how much extra effort is it for you once you click the button? Like, do you still have to upload manually?
So right now, it's this is a years long journey. Okay, keep in mind, it's gonna sound super cool, but this is a years long journey of refining my code and learning. And AI has helped me tremendously with the code. So from start to finish, I double click on my program to open it up. I created a small little UI. I select the channel that I want to make a mix for, or multiple mixes for. I select the right type of mix, a copyright free mix or a normal mix. I run the code and it creates the MP3 file with all of the songs in it, along with some text files that contain information important for that mix, like the playlist name and the songs, the timestamps for the songs and the titles, some other important info. The code automatically, after the playlist is created, it automatically runs the video creation portion of the code. And what that does is it creates a video with all the with the audio and the timestamp information. So the first clip will be an image and and the title displayed on the video, and then it'll transition into the next one and the next song, all the way until the end. The videos are about 20 to 30 minutes long typically.
And then do you run mid-roll ads on these videos? And then does it post it automatically as well?
So the third portion of the code, I don't have it automatically post from there, just because I can integrate that if I wanted to, but it's pretty easy. All I have to do is run a different code, and it'll automatically post all of my folders that have the videos in it. So
Okay.
it posts them, it uploads them to YouTube through YouTube Data API, and then puts the titles in, fills out the entire descriptions. I even have some like randomness in there to keep things fresh, as in
Nice.
like it might change up some things
Yeah.
from time to keep it legitimate. And people don't want to just see the same thing over and over again. So the code is pretty detailed when it comes to the organization side of it. But yeah, it posts the description, the tags, and the title, and it schedules the video 2 to 4 days out from the latest or from the farthest scheduled video. So I have it all. I have
That's
my
sick.
Kims right now. They're scheduled out till like 2 months from now, and I
That's awesome.
can go on vacation right now with my. I mean, it's only making $500 a month, but I can go on vacation right now and not really do much of anything.
Right. You can pay the mortgage for one of your units off of your YouTube channel without ever thinking about the YouTube channel.
That's a very interesting way of thinking about it. But yes, that's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's crazy. Wait, so yeah, so once you upload it, how many mid-rolls do you run?
Since I've only just started making money like only a few months ago here, I'm still experimenting with that. Honestly, it's very time consuming to do that, and I like automation. So I just use the automatic mid-roll ads
Yeah.
YouTube gives me, and it's usually like 4 or 5 ads.
Right. I think that might be the best option. I'm actually testing it right now on my channel. I have the NextLev extension, like Chrome extension. It lets you place them at whatever intervals you want. I'm testing one right now so what happens with a mid-roll ad, I just talked about this with the person on last. When you place a mid-roll ad, YouTube just considers that a suggestion. So it won't necessarily actually play an ad at that spot. It's just that that's a spot where it might play an ad, depending on if YouTube thinks that that playing an ad here will cause the user to leave the app or not, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but that does.
Yeah,
that
so I'm pretty certain that that's how it works. Now, my interesting question then is, okay, well, shouldn't you just if YouTube's algorithm is like so optimized that it knows, wouldn't the best thing to do be to run a mid-roll ad like every like second? And then YouTube just decides, is this a good spot? Is this a good spot? Is this a good spot? So I took a bunch of my old videos. I'm testing right now a couple different options. I have place automatically. I have manually placing the mid-roll ads right before something is about to happen. So for you, that might look like placing the mid-roll ad right before a beat drop, because then people are less likely to skip, right? If an ad happens, because they want to hear the beat drop. And then I have another 2 tests going that I did with NextLev, where it's putting a mid-roll ad every 20 seconds and every 10 seconds. So hopefully that thing is true and it doesn't actually play an ad every 10 seconds. But I'm going to check back on the RPM on those videos in the next couple days and see like how they change. And I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do.
Mid-roll ad strategy does best. But it's very possible that just letting YouTube optimize itself will just be the best.
Yeah, for sure. For anybody that wants to get started with the automation side of things, I highly recommend visiting Bennett's server, because there are a lot of people doing different things. Like if you're interested in music, you can message me. I'd be happy to chat about it. If you're interested in any other niche, there's so many people in there that you can definitely find someone who's already doing something that you want to get into.
Yeah, 100%. And I try to host Q&As as well. So depending on what people are trying to learn, like letting people ask specific questions. I even have a guy who's done like a really successful with long form automation on YouTube, and Snapchat shows as well. That's something I really want to tap into, but is so gatekept. So hopefully definitely having him on the podcast, hopefully bringing him onto the Discord for a Q&A as well. And yeah, we'll try to have more people like that. And thank you for the compliment. I'm trying to have a good community on my Discord. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that's insane. So I'm excited to check back in however many months until that $500 a month from all of that, explodes and still is passive. That'll be sick. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Of course. Yeah.
It was a great discussion.
It was
super
had
cool
a great
to learn
conversation.
about. Yeah. And I hope the viewers, or listeners got some value out of walking me through your whole real estate explanation and the potential nurse hack. I'm sure there's a ton of hacks like that are just so specific that you just find and it's like, oh, that is good. But yeah, thank you so much and peace.
All right, see you.